Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today we're going to be going over another one of the Eldritch Tree skills, which is the Echoing Strike. Now, Echoing Strike has been a topic of discussion for quite a bit because of how kind of OP it is. And we're going to be talking about like exactly what is going on with Echoing Strike, how it functions. I'm going to demonstrate it for you, not just tell you answers. I want you guys to see the difference between certain effects so that you know exactly how the ability functions. That way you can get an idea. Now, one of the things that I wanted to test with Echoing Strike when it first came out was I wanted to see like how it functioned in terms of like attack rating, and like crushing blow, procs, and all sorts of other things. So I went through the process of creating several items specifically for the purposes of testing this stuff. Two of the items that I created were basically just some very simple wands, a faster cast wand and a increased attack speed wand. Because one of the things that I was interested in is like, is this based on attack speed or is it based on faster cast? Well, when you test it, it's really simple. So this is the faster, or sorry, this is the base attack with no effects. So let's see, Echoing Strike. So this is the base attack with no effects. And then, of course, we have our faster cast. Our increased attack speed. We'll do that one first. Looks like no change to me. And then I have our 107 faster cast wand that I edited in. And as you can clearly see, there is a huge increase in attack speed with the faster cast, which means that Echoing Strike is a faster cast based skill, not an increased attack space based skill. In fact, I'm fairly certain, and this is actually kind of funny, I'm fairly certain that Echoing Strikes is literally just a modified version of Blade Sentinel. If you ever played the Assassin, if you've ever done the Blade Tree, the Blade Sentinel is an ability that basically just shoots out these little spinning blades that go out and then they come back. I'm pretty sure, like 99.9% sure, that somebody just took Blade Sentinel and edited it, gave it a new animation, because it seems to follow almost all the same rules that Blade Sentinel did, including like the special rules like crushing blow and proccing effects and whatnot not working. So that was another thing that I wanted to test, is I wanted to see whether or not Blade Sentinel, or rather, sorry, Echoing Strike worked with proccing effects. So this is a weapon that has a 100% chance to cast level 1 Frozen Orb on attack, and another effect of 100% chance to cast level 1 Tornado on striking. I edited this in myself. And if I go up and I attack a monster just regularly, just beat him in the head with my mace here, you'll see that the effects do in fact work. And we get a Frozen Orb, and we also get a Tornado. However, if I use Echoing Strike instead of using a regular attack, what you'll notice is that the 100% chance to proc these effects does not work. So Echoing Strike, unfortunately, does not have an ability to proc any effects whatsoever, which does make it kind of an odd man out in the melee or like ranged attacks of the Eldritch Tree, because both Cleave and Mirrored Blades can proc effects. I also tested other things like Crushing Blow, and that does not work. In fact, just about everything that Blade Sentinel was restricted to seems to apply also to this ability. In fact, I can pretty much just bring up the Blade Sentinel panel and just show you the Blade Sentinel panel, because I'm pretty sure that it lines up almost exactly with this ability. And I have a screenshot of that in here, in the massive number of screenshots that I've been taking since the launch of this thing. But I know it's in here somewhere. Yep, here it is. So I would pretty much just use this as your Bible for this particular ability until we have a full list of things that work and don't work with the ability, because I'm pretty sure from what I've seen so far and what I've tested, it seems to be lining up almost exactly with Blade Sentinel. So Blade Sentinel, minimum and maximum damage do work. Damage plus percentage works. But I'm not really sure that damage plus percentage works for Echoing Strike because it's magic damage, but it probably still applies to the physical portion that comes from the weapon, which it does have a percentage of the damage that comes from the weapon. Critical Strike and Deadly Strike work, magic damage, fire damage, lightning damage, cold damage, poison damage work, as well as cold and poison length. attack rating percentage, negative monster defense per hit, extra gold from monsters, better chance of magic items, and fire, lightning, cold, poison skill damage, as well as negative enemy resistance of all types. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff missing from this list. There's no crushing blow. There's no open wounds. There's a lot of various effects that probably are not going to work with Echoing Strike. Now that being said, is Echoing Strike a good ability? Well, it has a lot of damage. It has the same exact kind of damage that the Blade Sentinel has. So one of the things about the Blade Sentinel, Blade Fury, Blade Armor on the Assassin was that when they added the synergies, it would get massive amounts of free damage from the synergy bonuses themselves, and it didn't really seem to matter what weapon you used because you were getting so much free damage from the ability itself. Then, on top of that, when you put a weapon on, it adds even more damage to the ability by giving you even more hits. So, for instance, if you're utilizing something silly, like if you're just utilizing like a weapon like this that has no physical damage on it, you see that Echoing Strike is still saying it does 14,000 damage, which is kind of insane for basically using a weapon that has actually no real damage bonus. But then when you put a weapon that actually does have damage on it, like for instance an Death Colossus sword, you can see the damage balloons relatively dramatically to 29,000. Another thing about Echoing Strike is that it's technically physical damage. So it has attack rating, it has physical damage, and increasing physical damage is going to help. So things like a Phoenix Shield are going to add massive amounts of damage to this particular ability because you have the base damage of the ability, which is already way too much for some reason. You have the damage that comes from the weapon, which is also adding into the equation. And then, of course, you also have the off-weapon enhancement multipliers, which are going to give you even more damage output. In general, this Echoing Strike ability is actually kind of like dumb, stupid, insane. It does massive amounts of damage. It pretty much just like one-shots or two-shots most monsters. Not only that, but it can be spread out into a fan depending on where you use the ability. Like, for instance, if you're standing very far away from the monster and you use an ability on the monster, it will usually all hit the monster at the same time. Whereas if you use your ability and you just simply click close to your character, you clearly see it almost comes out in a multi-shot, making it a very powerful ability in both single target and also AoE damage. It's going to be a very fun ability for a lot of people. And there's another thing. So one other interesting caveat, and there has been some reports that potentially this is a bug, but I'm going to tell you guys anyway, and if it does get patched out later, then so be it. So one of the things is that apparently it doesn't burn durability, which has been tested. So this is a bone hue right here that currently has 33 out of 50 durability, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to use Echoing Strike on some monsters real quick and see if we can burn durability off of this weapon. From my experience so far, the Echoing Strike ability does not burn durability. And unless that they decide to fix it, it is currently a skill that can use ethereal items without having to worry about putting a Zod rune or getting Repairer's durability, which opens up the overall possibilities of essentially getting like massive amounts of damage from some very interesting items in the ethereal status that you might never have normally considered because normally they would have broken. And of course, let's just keep killing a couple monsters here real quick to really hammer it home. But we still have 33 out of 50 durability so far. And let's kill a couple more. And this isn't even a fully set up character. So for references, I've seen damage numbers up in the 100,000s with this particular ability. Utilizing the proper equipment plus the skills and getting everything, all the charms and everything properly set up. This ability is going to be one that people are going to have a lot of fun with. And as you can clearly see, despite killing multiple monsters, I'm still at 33 out of 50 durability. So unless they fix this and they decide, hey, this is a bug and we don't want this, you're going to be able to use ethereal versions of weapons that you've never used before. Like an ethereal bone hue without a Zod rune in it, and I could put other runes in it instead. Like I could throw 2 ohms in it if you want, which is going to be pretty crazy. Now the synergy requirements for Echoing Strike are mirrored blades. which is going to give you additional blades. So this is something that I kind of just like skipped over entirely because I wanted to show you the ability. But in the beginning, when you first use Echoing Strike, what you're going to notice is that it doesn't really give you any additional blades. So you only get the one. As you level up, your Mirrored Blades ability in tandem with the Echoing Strike, you're going to get more blades, and it basically functions at a rate of one blade per, I think it's 5 levels. So once you get to 5 points, 5 hard points, you get a second blade. Once you get to 10 hard points, you get a third blade. Once you get to 15 hard points, you get a fourth blade. And then finally, once you get to the 20, which is the cap on Mirrored Blades, you have 5 total blades being put out. So Mirrored Blades is a very powerful and very important synergy to Echoing Strike to really get the most out of it. Now, to increase the damage of Echoing Blades or Echoing Strike as much as possible, you're going to use Blade Warp, which is going to give you a bonus to the damage per level. And then you also are going to max out Levitation Mastery. And by the time you're done maxing out these things, you have a very powerful Echo Strike. As you can see, I'm currently at 14k to 36k with an Eth Bone Hue right now. And of course, there's other potential options that you could use. But as you can clearly see, like we're in Hell difficulty, and I'm pretty sure we're currently on Players 8. We're currently on Players 8. And I'm just like running around one-shotting everything with the current Echoing Strike. And this isn't even anywhere near close to how much you can max it out. I kind of fully expect this one to get nerfed a little bit before the season launches on February 20th, but we shall see. Overall, just a really powerful ability. It does have some severe limitations. No proccing effects, like you're not going to be able to proc Amp Curse. You're not going to be able to proc Decrepify. You're not going to be able to get any Crushing Blow, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult to kill bosses. Although from what I've been looking at so far, the damage is so good that when you basically fire 5 of these attacks at a like Uber Diablo, the massive amount of damage that it does kind of like completely usurps the need for Crushing Blow. So even though it doesn't have Crushing Blow, it still does ridiculous amounts of damage and makes it so that Crushing Blow isn't even necessary. We will see what the future holds for Echoing Strike, but as it is right now, it is a very fun ability that you can utilize to your advantage and get some really good effectiveness out of. You can also potentially utilize this with the hexes, of course, adding in more additional damage through like Hex Bane or explosions through Hex Purge, or just getting some additional recovery through Hex Siphon. And all of that equals a very powerful ability. The only downside is it doesn't really have a synergy with any of the hexes, so you have to build into those manually. I think that's pretty much it for Echoing Strike. All in all, it's a very fun ability, and I'd recommend playing around with it. As always, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button. I'm getting close to 100,000 subscribers, and I appreciate the support. And keep watching.